They laughed when they buried you, but forgot graves leave evidence. Chosen one, this isn't just a twist of fate. It's justice in motion. You were betrayed, humiliated, and left to clean up the emotional wreckage alone, while they walked away smiling like they won something. But here's the thing they never saw coming. When you destroy something pure, something protected by the universe, it creates a ripple that eventually slaps back harder than the original hit. It doesn't matter how clever they thought they were. When betrayal is the weapon, investigation becomes the echo. Imagine setting fire to someone's life, then trying to pretend you're just enjoying the warmth. That's exactly what your ex did. They sabotaged your peace, turned people against you, and acted like they were the victim. But the universe doesn't just let that slide. You see, fire might burn fast, but smoke always lingers. And guess what? That smoke is finally trailing straight to their doorstep. Reports, investigations, eyes watching. They thought they got away, but now they're running out of exits. Here's a fact that should make you sit up straight. Studies have found that individuals who deliberately manipulate and betray others are 60% more likely to engage in behaviors that eventually bring legal or moral consequences. Why? Because when someone lies that easily, they don't stop. They just get messier. And when someone betrays with no conscience, they don't learn, they escalate. That's when the universe steps in with a correction, and correction is rarely soft. And thank you, chosen one. Don't forget to pay this message back by simply pressing the like and subscribe to help spread this truth to more souls. It's our shared responsibility to keep the light alive in a world full of shadows. Your energy, your strength, and your story are all part of something bigger. This is more than a message. It's a movement. Thank you for being part of this force. Now back to what matters, because the truth is catching up fast. This wasn't just a bad breakup or a toxic relationship. This was a calculated takedown. Your ex didn't leave you with respect. They tried to destroy your name on their way out. They didn't just betray you in private. They turned it into a show. They aligned with people who fed off gossip and bitterness. They made you a storyline in their sad little drama, hoping your fall would make their image rise. But you stood still, stayed silent, and let the universe take notes. And now, those notes are evidence. You see, when people try to bury you, what they're really doing is digging their own grave. All the lies they told, the fake stories they spread, and the manipulations they used, they leave fingerprints. They leave traces in text messages, in conversations, in things they once boasted about. And the universe has a funny way of collecting all those scattered pieces and presenting them at the exact right moment. Here's another brutal truth. Over 70% of manipulative individuals repeat the same patterns in new connections. And guess what that means? They never stopped their behavior after you. They simply shifted their game to new victims. And when enough people report smoke, someone finally looks for the fire. That's why the energy around them feels heavy right now, why their name is starting to raise eyebrows, why certain doors are beginning to close without explanation. It's not paranoia, it's consequence. They betrayed someone with a clean heart, and that comes with a price. You didn't curse them, you didn't retaliate, you just moved forward. But balance always returns. That's the law of the universe. And what hurts them even more, you didn't crumble. They left you thinking you'd be broken, desperate, chasing after them, trying to fix what they smashed. But you did the one thing they never expected. You healed, quietly, powerfully. They checked your page expecting to see a mess, but saw progress instead. They asked around hoping to hear you failed, but heard whispers of your glow-up. That's why their guilt is louder now, because nothing haunts a betrayer like watching the person they tried to destroy stand taller than ever. So when the investigation started, whether spiritual, emotional, or literal, it wasn't random. It was earned. It was timed. It was inevitable. Because the universe may not always speak in thunder, but it always speaks in patterns. And right now, those patterns are closing in on your ex. Their fake charm, fading, their lies, collapsing, their mask, slipping. They're sweating under the very spotlight they once used to shame you. And don't be surprised if they reach out soon, apologizing, deflecting, or playing the victim. That's what people do when they feel the heat. But you owe them nothing, not your attention, not your forgiveness, just peace. Because the moment you stopped responding, their karma started forming. And now that it's active, no one can protect them, not even the people they once manipulated. Chosen one, what you're feeling now isn't revenge, it's release. That sense of weight lifting off your spirit, that's justice. That quiet inner knowing that something's shifting behind the scenes, that's confirmation. You're not crazy for feeling like their life is unraveling. You're not imagining the strange energy surrounding them. When someone hurts a chosen one, the universe becomes their shadow, watching, waiting, ready. So keep your head up, keep your energy clean. Because while they're being investigated, you're being elevated. While they're explaining themselves to people behind closed doors, you're being talked about in rooms you haven't even entered yet. That's the shift. That's the reversal. That's the karma. You didn't just survive the betrayal, you outgrew it. You didn't just move on, you leveled up. And now, the same ex who mocked your silence is being silenced by the consequences of their own choices. Let the universe do what it does. The truth is working in your favor. And this is just the beginning. Stay alert, stay grounded, and stay chosen, because your light just exposed everything they tried to hide. And chosen one, thank you for being right here, exactly where the truth finds you. What's coming next is deep, layer by layer. We're going to uncover how your betrayal set off a chain reaction they never expected. So don't move just yet. If you've ever questioned whether karma was real, you're about to see how it hits. Slow, sharp, and without mercy. Drop 777 in the comments if you know this exposure was long overdue. And if this message speaks to your soul, fuel this mission with a super thanks, because every bit of support keeps this light alive. Whether it's a cent or 100, it all drives the truth forward. And now, let's break this open step by step. Stay with me, because if you've really been betrayed, you won't want to miss a single piece of what's coming next. Let's get into it. Chapter 1. They set the trap, now they're caught in it. The most dangerous game is thinking you'll never get caught while playing with someone who was sent to survive everything you tried to destroy. They laughed, didn't they? Thought they had it all figured out, played you like a toy, tossed your love aside like trash, and walked away thinking they'd never face a consequence. But, oh, chosen one, look what's happening now. The same ex who tried to rewrite your story with lies is now being read by people who don't miss details. Professionals, eyes that see beyond the surface, voices that don't fall for charm. These aren't your emotional enemies. These are investigators, quiet, cold, and calculated, and they're picking apart your ex's trail piece by piece. You see, the way they once studied your emotions to manipulate you, that same scrutiny is now being turned back on them, only this time, it's not for love, it's for exposure. This isn't just karma whispering. This is justice kicking the door down. Every dark little secret they thought would stay buried. It's surfacing. Every text they deleted, every shady deal they made behind closed doors, every person they used and discarded, now it's on record. That mask they wore so well, it's cracking under the heat of the truth. Let's be clear, they thought they were untouchable, thought they could play the role of the puppet master, pulling strings while you suffered. But what happens when the puppeteer becomes the puppet? When their strings are now in the hands of forces bigger than them, forces trained to watch, track, and destroy deception from the inside out. That's what's happening, and they're panicking. You might ask, why now? Why is the universe exposing them now after all the damage they did? Because timing is a weapon. The universe waits until your ex is comfortable, settled, thinking they're in the clear. And then, boom, the lights come on, the walls start closing in, and their past starts screaming through the cracks they tried to seal. They thought they could light a fire and walk away untouched, but fire doesn't negotiate. Fire consumes, and now they're coughing on the smoke of their own betrayal. There's a certain irony here that stings deeper than any revenge. They burned your trust, set fire to your name, played mind games with your peace. But now, they're not even the main character anymore. They're a case file, a folder, a problem to be solved by people who don't care about their sob stories. Your name? It's not even in the dirt anymore. It's clean. But theirs? It's under a magnifying glass, and it's burning. That's the brutal beauty of universal balance. While they were celebrating your breakdown, they were unknowingly setting the stage for their own. And now, chosen one, your only job is to keep watching, because this show has just begun. Chapter 2. Their lies just became evidence. Now they're choking on the truth. You can outrun a rumor, but you can't outrun a record. Truth doesn't knock twice. It kicks the door in when it's ready. They called it drama. Now it's called documented. The mouth that lied the most is now the one staying shut in interviews. Chosen one, let's be brutally clear. You were never crazy. You were never dramatic. You weren't delusional, and you weren't bitter. You were right. They just weren't ready for the kind of truth that leaves no room to hide. You tried to speak out, to warn others, to explain the pain, but every time you opened your mouth, they laughed, called you emotional, said you were making things up. But now the same truth they tried to bury is coming back, not as a story, but as proof. Imagine being mocked for crying while someone destroys your reputation, and then watching that same person try to explain themselves when confronted by people holding evidence. Imagine being told, let it go, stop talking about it, move on, while they continued their campaign of lies in silence. And now those lies are being dissected line by people who don't care about their charm. It's not personal anymore, it's procedural. And that's what scares them the most. This is where karma becomes paperwork. They played the game thinking it would stay emotional, thinking it would stay in the shadows, thinking that if they gaslit you hard enough, you'd question your own reality. But here's the thing, you didn't just survive. You documented, you remembered, you trusted your gut. And while you were healing, the truth was growing teeth behind the scenes, because lies might spread fast, but facts stick. You ever wonder why they went so hard to discredit you? Why they worked overtime trying to paint you as unstable? Because the truth you carried was a threat to the mask they wore. And deep down, they knew if even a sliver of what you said reached the right ears, it would be game over. So they smeared your name to keep theirs clean. And now, look, your words, the ones they called crazy, are being quoted, filed, time-stamped. What was once just drama is now official documentation. Imagine watching the same people who ignored your pain now whisper behind closed doors about what they saw. Imagine seeing texts you once cried over now printed in reports, screenshots, voice notes, testimonies. Energy doesn't lie, chosen one. And when enough people feel it, when patterns repeat, when timelines line up, when too many victims start speaking the same way, it becomes undeniable. You may ask, why now? Why is the universe pulling back the curtain now when it should have happened long ago? Because sometimes the truth takes its time on purpose. The longer the lie lives, the deeper it traps the liar. They had their chance to come clean. They had their chance to admit fault. Instead, they kept adding layers. More deceit, more manipulation, more betrayal. And now, it's all caving in at once. The fall is always harder when the lies have been standing too tall for too long. Metaphorically speaking, they built a castle out of sand, polished it, decorated it, and invited the world inside. But what they didn't expect was the tide. The tide of truth doesn't announce itself. It comes quietly, steadily, until one day, everything they built is swept away in seconds. And while they scream that it's unfair, everyone else is just reading the signs you saw a long time ago. Another one for you. Imagine someone planting fake flowers in their yard just to look good. Plastic, shiny, perfect from a distance, but once the sun hits them long enough, the colors fade, the plastic cracks, and people realize they never had anything real to offer. That's your ex, a walking illusion that finally got exposed by the light of your truth. And yes, you may be wondering, will they ever admit what they did? No, probably not. People like this rarely confess. But here's what matters. They no longer need to. The investigation is louder than their denial. They can deny, deflect, play victim, but it doesn't matter. Because now, it's not about opinions. It's about evidence. And you, chosen one, are being vindicated without even having to say another word. This is deeper than closure. This is divine-level justice without needing to beg for it. You didn't have to scream, prove, or convince. You just had to endure. And now the universe is delivering what you couldn't chase. The lies that once made you question your worth are now being cross-examined. The betrayal that once broke your heart is now the rope tightening around their own credibility. And guess what else? This is just the beginning, because once the truth starts to rise, it doesn't stop at one person. It spills, it moves, it finds others. People who once supported them start distancing themselves. People who once doubted you start connecting dots. Even people who stayed silent now find themselves uncomfortable because the truth doesn't just reveal liars, it exposes the ones who clapped for them too. So, chosen one, breathe. This moment is heavy, but it's sacred. You are not watching karma, you're watching alignment. Your pain is being converted into clarity. Your silence is becoming a storm in their life. You didn't need revenge. You didn't need to stoop to their level. All you needed was patience, and the universe did the rest. Let them squirm, let them backtrack, let them try to twist the story one more time. It won't matter, because now they're not dealing with your emotions. They're dealing with evidence, and evidence doesn't flinch when someone cries. Evidence doesn't care about fake tears. Evidence just is. So hold your head high, watch it unfold. You earned this moment not by fighting dirty, but by staying clean. Let the lies burn themselves down. Let their own words be the fire that takes down everything they built. Because this time, you don't need to prove anything. The truth already has. Chapter 3. They played with fire, now they're screaming in the flames. The match they struck to burn you down just lit the fuse on their own downfall. They couldn't destroy your spirit, so they tried to scorch your reputation. They lit fires with their lies, hoping the smoke would blind everyone from seeing who you really were. But chosen one, fire has memory. And the one thing they forgot is this: the flames don't care who started them. They spread, they consume. And right now, those flames are dancing at their feet, burning through the illusions they built. They thought you'd collapse under the heat, but you didn't. You walked through it, ash-covered, exhausted, but undefeated. And while you were rebuilding silently, they were fanning the fire with their ego, thinking karma was too slow to catch up. But now, it's here, and it's not knocking softly. The same blaze they sparked to ruin you is now turning everything around them to rubble. You ever wonder why it's all falling apart for them at once? Why people are finally questioning their version of the story? Because the universe collects receipts. What looked like random chaos is actually perfect design. The investigation isn't just about evidence, it's about exposure. It's about justice stepping into the room they thought they locked from the inside. So drop "justice served" in the comments if you feel that shift, because the fire they set for you is now the one they can't escape from. Chapter 4. They declared war, not love, and now they're losing it. They didn't break up with you, they broke into your soul and tried to rob your peace. Let's call it what it really was. They didn't just leave, they didn't quietly walk away. No, they launched a full-blown emotional assault. A silent war masked as romance. They smiled in your face while planning your breakdown. What you thought was love was actually a calculated ambush, and you were the target from the beginning. That's not a failed relationship. That's psychological warfare. Imagine inviting someone into your heart, only for them to take your trust and turn it into a weapon. They didn't just hurt you. They enjoyed watching you suffer, laughed at your healing, mocked your pain, spread your vulnerabilities like rumors, just to feel powerful. That's not heartbreak. That's cruelty in disguise. And here's the twist. They truly believed they got away with it, thought karma was just a story told by the weak to feel better. But chosen one, karma doesn't blink. Karma doesn't forget. Karma doesn't miss a name. It waits. And now, the bill has arrived with interest. Every tear they mocked, every lie they told, every dagger they twisted with a smirk. It's being returned. Piece by piece. They declared war on the wrong one, and now the universe is making sure they feel every wound they thought they left behind. Chapter 5. They fed on control. Now they're starving for it. Power built on manipulation always collapses under its own lies. Chosen one, it was never love. It was never even connection. What they craved wasn't your heart. It was your submission. Control was their drug, and you were the supply. Every guilt trip, every mind game, every silent treatment was just another fix. They didn't want partnership. They wanted dominance. They wanted to feel like gods in a world where their own insecurities ruled them. But when control becomes addiction, withdrawal becomes destruction. And that's exactly what they're going through now. Imagine someone holding a mirror to your face every day, trying to convince you your reflection was broken, just so you'd rely on them to define your worth. That's how deep their manipulation ran. They drained you emotionally to feed their ego, convinced they were powerful because they could make you doubt yourself. But here's the truth. Strong people empower. Weak people control. And nothing exposes weakness faster than losing the person they couldn't dominate. You may wonder, why did they want control so badly? Because chaos is all they've ever known. They can't handle genuine love. It terrifies them. So they replace it with control, because control feels safer than vulnerability. But control built on lies always burns out, and now that same fire is exposing every part of them they tried to hide. They thought they had you trapped, but the moment you broke free, the entire illusion collapsed. And now, the flame they once used to blind you is shining directly on their own darkness, and it's blinding them. Chapter 6. They tried to escape the fallout, but karma has their address. You can delete the messages, but you can't delete the energy that sent them. They thought they walked away untouched, chosen one, thought they could leave you bleeding and move on like nothing happened. But consequences don't need your permission. They show up uninvited, right on time. They wanted to see you broken, but now they're the ones living in fragments. The laughter that once mocked you, it's gone, replaced with sleepless nights, anxious scrolling, and that quiet, gnawing fear that someone's finally onto them. That's not coincidence. That's consequence. Imagine someone throwing stones in a glass house, laughing while it shatters, and then acting surprised when the shards start cutting their own feet. That's your ex right now. Every rumor they started, every jab they took, every lie they told, it's circling back, name by name, word by word. They thought they were untouchable, but the investigation has made their world feel like a maze with no exit. They can't eat, they can't sleep, and no matter how far they run, they keep hearing the echo of their own actions chasing them down. You might ask, do they finally regret it? Yes, but not out of guilt, out of exposure. They don't fear karma because it's mystical, they fear it because it's accurate. The universe doesn't miss details, it tracks everything. And now, every dark move they made is returning like a boomerang with precision. They started a war thinking they'd walk away victorious, but the war never ended. It just flipped sides. Now they're fighting the very storm they created, and losing badly. Chapter 7. They called you too much, now they can't handle the fallout. They said you were too sensitive, but it turns out you were too accurate. Chosen one, you were never too much. You were never too emotional, too intense, or too dramatic. You were right. What you felt wasn't just a broken heart, it was a spiritual ambush, a soul-level betrayal that cut deeper than words could ever explain. And while they rolled their eyes, mocked your pain, and told others you were doing too much, the universe was silently building a case. They underestimated you because you loved deeply, because you cared even after they gave you every reason not to. They thought your silence was weakness, but your stillness was power. They didn't realize that your heart wasn't fragile, it was forgiving. And now they're choking on the very peace they tried to steal from you. Their mind is restless, their sleep interrupted, their reality crumbling beneath the weight of what they did. Imagine mocking someone for bleeding, only to wake up and realize the cut was on your own soul. That's their reality now. The kindness they laughed at, it's the same energy exposing them. The strength they thought you didn't have, it's the reason you survived. And the truth they tried to bury, it's the shovel digging up their downfall. So no, you were never too much. You were just too real for someone who wasn't ready to face themselves. Chapter 8. They replaced you with chaos. Now they're drowning in regret. They didn't lose you. They lost the only peace their chaos ever tolerated. They thought leaving you meant winning, that walking away would grant them freedom, a fresh start, a new supply of attention. But freedom without inner peace is just a new version of hell, and that's exactly where they're living now. On the surface, it looks like they've moved on, but inside, they're unraveling. Chosen one, they didn't just lose a person, they lost their grounding. Your energy was the calm in their storm, the anchor in their spiral. And now that it's gone, every night feels longer, every silence feels louder. They stare at the ceiling wondering why nothing feels real anymore. That restless feeling? It's your absence. Imagine someone sprinting toward what they think is paradise, only to discover it's just another empty room with mirrors reflecting the damage they caused. Every new face reminds them of you. Every forced laugh reminds them of what they ruined. They try to fill the space you once occupied, but all they find are shallow connections and temporary highs that crash hard. They thought they replaced you, but they only replaced peace with chaos. And now, no matter how far they run, they can't escape one truth. You were the only thing real in a world they built on lies. Chapter 9. They traded a diamond for dust. Now regret is all they breathe. You weren't just the blessing, they were the one too blind to recognize it. They thought you were replaceable, thought love was easy to duplicate, so they chased shiny distractions, convinced that anything that sparkles could match your glow. But glass only shines until it cracks. And now they're left with empty conversations, forced laughter, and people who couldn't carry your energy for 5 minutes. Chosen one, you weren't just a lover, you were their calm in the storm. You were grounding energy in their chaotic world, their peace, their mirror, their anchor, and now they're drifting. Regret has become their new reality, and no matter who's around them, the silence screams your name. Every fake smile feels like a lie they can't keep up anymore. Every room feels colder without your presence. Imagine giving up water in a desert, thinking you'll find an oasis. That's what they did. They mistook real value for momentary thrill, but when the rush wore off, they were left with nothing but echoes of what they lost. And those echoes are loud. Regret doesn't whisper, it haunts. They didn't just lose a partner, they lost stability, and now they're realizing too late. You were the real thing, and they'll never touch that kind of rare again. Chapter 10. They broke the shield. Now they're getting hit from all sides. You weren't their weakness, you were their protection, and now they're feeling what you used to block. Chosen one, they never realized what you were really doing for them. You weren't just loving them, you were covering them. Your energy was a shield, a force that silently kept chaos, misfortune, and emotional storms away. But they confused your peace for passivity. They mocked your calm. They laughed at the very thing that was saving them from themselves. And when they threw you away, they threw away their only layer of protection. Now look at them. Things aren't flowing like before. The luck they bragged about is gone. Opportunities slipping. Friendships crumbling. Why? Because when you disrespect sacred energy, the universe responds. What they're facing now isn't just bad luck. It's justice in motion. The blessings they enjoyed while with you weren't theirs alone. They were borrowed light from your presence. And once they dishonored that presence, the light went out. Imagine breaking an umbrella in a thunderstorm and then wondering why you're drenched. That's their life now. Every setback, every closed door, every sleepless night. It's not random. It's a correction, because the universe doesn't reward betrayal, especially not when someone throws away the very soul that was protecting them the whole time. Now they're out in the open, and the storm is just getting started. Chapter 11. They went silent, but guilt screams louder than words. They ghosted you to feel in control. Now they're haunted by everything they tried to silence. Chosen one, they thought silence was power. That disappearing without closure gave them the upper hand. But silence is not peace, it's guilt wearing a mask. You don't ghost someone you didn't wrong. You ghost them because deep down, you know they saw the real you, and that terrifies you. That's what happened here. They thought cutting off contact would erase the truth. But energy doesn't work that way. You can block calls, but not karma. You can delete messages, but not memory. And now, that guilt they tried to avoid is eating away at them day by day. It shows in their eyes, the sudden way they look over their shoulder. It's in their insomnia, their overthinking, their fake laughter at parties. They're not free. They're trapped in a prison built from the silence they once celebrated. Imagine thinking you've buried the truth, only to feel it crawling under your skin every night. That's what guilt does. It doesn't need words to haunt you. It lives in moments of stillness. It speaks through panic attacks and nervous smiles. They didn't escape anything. They're carrying everything they tried to leave behind, on their back, in their chest, and behind every fake smile they flash. They silenced you, but now it's their own silence that's destroying them. Chapter 12. They disrespected the gift. Now they're paying the full price. They thought you'd always be there, until your absence started screaming louder than your loyalty ever did. Chosen one, they didn't just cross lines, they erased them. Every time you forgave, they saw it as permission. Every ounce of your loyalty, patience, and love was mistaken for weakness. They played games with someone who was sent to protect them, elevate them, cover them. And now, they're learning that disrespect has a cost, and this time it's non-refundable. They thought you'd always be there, waiting, hoping, hurting. But when you finally went quiet, that silence wasn't surrender. It was power. That was the moment everything shifted. Because when your energy left, so did their blessings. What used to flow now feels blocked. What once came easy now feels cursed. Every step they take feels heavier. That's not a coincidence. That's what happens when you break the spirit that was keeping your world together. Imagine unplugging the light source in a dark room, then blaming the room for being dark. That's exactly what they did. They shattered the energy that once protected them, and now they're stumbling in the dark, confused, frustrated, and surrounded by the weight of their own decisions. You weren't weak, you were rare, you were sacred, and when they disrespected that, they activated a punishment no apology can undo. Now they're living with the price, and it's only going up. Chapter 13. They chose a knockoff. Now they're craving the real thing. You can replace a person, but you can't replicate their soul. Chosen one, they thought swapping you out would silence the emptiness inside them. They thought a copy would give them what they lost. But what they're learning now, painfully, is that cheap replacements never hold up under real pressure. They traded your depth for surface-level attention. They gave up truth for a fantasy. And now, that fantasy is fading fast. The new person might wear your scent, mimic your style, say the right words, but they can't match your energy. They can't mirror your understanding. They can't see into their soul the way you did, because you weren't just a partner. You were an experience, a connection they'll never feel again. Imagine trying to replace a rare painting with a printed poster. It might look good from far away, but up close you see the difference. You feel the difference, and they feel it every single day. Every forced laugh, every cold silence, every moment they try to convince themselves they made the right choice. That emptiness they're drowning in now, that's the echo of the real thing they let go of. They tried to move on, but the truth, they didn't move forward, they settled. And now they're haunted by the fact that nothing and no one ever compares to you. Chapter 14. Your rise became their collapse, and now they're trapped in the shadow of what they lost. They tried to bury you, not knowing you were a seed. Now your growth blocks their sunlight. Chosen one, they thought it was over for you. They really believed they had the final say in your story. When they broke you, betrayed you, humiliated you, and walked away, they imagined you staying stuck. They pictured you begging, folding, drowning in your own tears while they celebrated their illusion of power. But what they never understood is this. You don't bury a chosen one, you plant them, and the universe knows exactly how to water what's destined to rise. Every tear they caused became your roots. Every night you couldn't sleep became your soil. Every betrayal, fertilizer. And while they laughed, you grew, quietly, steadily, and far beyond what they ever thought possible. The version of you they tried to destroy, gone, replaced by a stronger, wiser, more focused force they could never handle now. They planted pain, but the harvest, majestic. They're haunted now, not by guilt, but by your glow, your success, your stillness, your power. You became everything they feared you'd become the moment they realized you no longer needed them. They scroll in silence, eyes stuck on your evolution, watching, obsessing, comparing, wishing, but they'll never say it out loud. Why? Because pride won't let them admit that their attempt to destroy you built something unstoppable. Imagine trying to burn down a forest only to watch it grow back twice as thick, roots deeper, branches wider, untouchable. That's you now. And here's the part that cuts them deepest. They're no longer even a threat. They're a spectator in a story they thought they controlled. Every room they enter feels smaller. Every face they meet reminds them of what they mishandled. You became the standard, and they can't live up to what they lost. You ever wonder why they're so quiet now? Why they avoid your name? Because your rise exposes them. Your elevation turns the spotlight back on their downfall, and there's no lie they can spin to cover it. You've become living proof of the one thing they never believed in: consequences. Not by revenge, not by force, but by excellence. The kind of glow that silence creates, the kind of power that pain forges. You didn't have to fight back. You just had to become. And now, their downfall plays out in slow motion. The relationships they chased fall flat. The people they tried to impress have disappeared. Their peace is gone. Their reputation shaky. Nothing they reach for lasts. Because when you betray someone who was sent to uplift you, the universe shuts the door you didn't even know was keeping you alive. They lost access to you, chosen one, and that loss, permanent. They'll never again touch the version of you that prayed for them, forgave them, stayed loyal despite the damage. That version is extinct. They buried you thinking it would end there, but all they did was trigger your rebirth. A newer, sharper, more grounded version of you that doesn't bend anymore, doesn't explain, doesn't ask, doesn't wait. Their emptiness is now their prison. They're surrounded by people, but no one sees them like you did. They get praised, but it means nothing, because none of it feels real. They laugh, but it doesn't reach their eyes. They try to replace your energy with distractions, but all they find is noise. No anchor, no purpose, just silence, and you living proof that they were the villain in their own downfall. And make no mistake, the universe is not done. Your rise is still in motion. You're not just healing, you're evolving into something legendary. And every time they see you move, speak, win, glow, they feel that loss deepen. Because it's not just about what they lost, it's about what they can never reclaim. That access is cut, that chapter is closed, and you are untouchable. So walk tall, walk bold, walk in silence if you must, but know this: your existence is proof that pain births power, and betrayal cannot stop destiny. Your rise didn't just lift you, it shattered them. Not because you wanted revenge, but because you became the version of yourself they never deserved to witness. Their downfall isn't loud, it's quiet, slow, inevitable, the kind that eats from the inside. That's what happens when someone tries to crush a chosen one and fails. Now the only thing left for them to watch is the view from below. And you? You're not just rising anymore. You're gone. Chapter 15. They ruined their own name, trying to bury yours. Now the world is watching. They tried to destroy your image with words, but ended up exposing their own reflection instead. Chosen one, what they did wasn't just betrayal, it was character assassination. When they left, they didn't just exit quietly. They ran to anyone who would listen, spinning stories, twisting facts, and framing themselves as the victim. It wasn't enough for them to break your heart. They wanted to break your reputation too. But here's the law of the universe. You can't climb by dragging someone else down, because eventually the lies you throw become the very net that traps you. They thought slandering you would boost their image, that if they told the story first, they could control the narrative. But truth doesn't need speed. It needs time, and time has a way of peeling back the masks. The very lies they used to manipulate others are now the same stories raising red flags. People are starting to see the patterns, their manipulative tactics, the inconsistency in their words, the emotional chaos they leave behind wherever they go. What they fail to realize is that not everyone stays fooled forever. The people they once turned against you, some of them are starting to feel the sting of betrayal themselves. The same tactics they used on you, they reused on others. And now the whispers they once started are echoing, but this time those whispers are warnings. Be careful with them. Watch how they move. They did the same thing to me. The very audience they tried to convince is now questioning everything. Imagine poisoning a well, hoping to harm someone else, then being the only one drinking from it. That's their reality now. The lies they poured out are now seeping into their life, infecting their opportunities, their connections, their reputation. They tried to dirty your name, and now theirs is covered in permanent stains. And here's the twist that cuts deepest. You didn't even fight back. You stayed silent. You didn't scream. You didn't defend yourself in every room. You didn't run behind them trying to fix the story. And that silence? It roared louder than every lie they told, because real ones watch, and real ones remember. When someone attacks a good soul unprovoked, it always comes back around. That's what's happening now. The energy they put out is circling back like a boomerang, and it's hitting them harder than they ever expected. They burned bridges with gasoline and a smile, thinking they'd never need to look back. But now those very bridges lead to people they need. People who used to believe them, now question them. Doors they once had access to, closing. Conversations they used to control, slipping away. Their word doesn't carry the weight it used to, because people are starting to see. And the irony, they created their own downfall trying to orchestrate yours. They spent so much time fabricating stories about you, they forgot to maintain their own image. And lies, no matter how pretty, can't survive the heat of truth. Their image is unraveling, one thread at a time, and every attempt they make to fix it only exposes more cracks. You might ask, but why did they go so far to destroy me? Because your existence exposed their lack. Your strength made them feel small. Your truth was a mirror they couldn't face. So instead of growing, they tried to shatter the reflection. That's not strength, chosen one. That's cowardice. That's what weak people do when they fear accountability. Let's be clear, their entire identity was built on illusion, on charm, manipulation, and control. And you broke the cycle. You walked away. You didn't play the game. That's why they turned on you, because they couldn't control the story once you stopped responding. And now that you've grown, healed, and risen, their version of events doesn't match your glow. That contradiction is what's destroying their credibility. Imagine telling the world someone was broken, only to watch that same person thrive, glow, and walk in peace. That's your revenge, not spite, not retaliation, just truth in motion. And now they're sitting in the corner of rooms they once dominated, trying to rebuild a version of themselves that never really existed. And they can feel it, every glance, every pause in conversation, every subtle shift in tone. People don't trust them like they used to. People are watching, listening differently. The lies aren't landing the same. The manipulation is more obvious, and it's driving them mad. They wanted you isolated. Now they're the ones being distanced from. Their web is unraveling, and they're tangled in it. Meanwhile, you've become untouchable. Your silence was your strategy. Your peace was your proof. And your rise? That's the loudest rebuttal of all. You didn't need to clear your name. Your energy did it for you. That's the power of being aligned with truth. It always wins in the end. So, Chosen One, let this be your confirmation. What they tried to destroy became the platform for your elevation, and the lies they spread now serve as evidence of their own broken character. You never had to clap back, because the universe never needed your help to expose someone who was always destined to self-destruct. And they're not just regretting the loss, they're regretting who they became trying to ruin you, because in the process of trying to make the world question you, they made the world see them. Your name stands clean. Theirs is now a cautionary tale, and the only spotlight left is the one exposing everything they hoped would stay hidden. They didn't just lose your love, they lost their reputation, they lost their power, they lost the game they created, and that is the most poetic justice of all. Chosen One, if this message confirmed what your spirit already knew, let it be the final reminder. You were never the villain. They just couldn't handle your light. Their lies exposed them. Your silence elevated you. That's real power. If you haven't already, press the like button to show the universe you're standing in your truth. And if you're still not part of this growing family of awakened souls, hit that subscribe button now. Because your voice, your energy, and your presence matter here. This is your home. This is your confirmation. And your rise, it's just getting started.